Hi, it's me, Chio. Welcome. So today we're going to be reading the third and final part of this story, If I Lost You. I have been enjoying the story for a while now, and I'm going to be reading the last stretch of the story. If you haven't seen the first part, you can check it out up above, or if you want to see the second part, I'm also going to leave a link up above so you can go back, watch that, then come back to this video so you can enjoy the finale together. So I'm not going to waste much time to get into it because, oh my gosh, the rest is long. So I'm going to need a lot of water and a lot of air to get through this. But I hope we enjoy it. Chapter 11. Mark decided to spend his whole day at work. There was not much he could do. She made it clear that she did not want to be with him, so he just gave up. He thought he was pretty stupid letting her go like that, but that was what she wanted. His friend Sam entered his office. He looked at Mark. Oh no, not again. You still haven't let this woman go. I have. That's why I look like this. You must really love her. Yes, I do. But I can't do anything about it, and besides, I'm getting married to Stephanie in about 3 weeks. Maybe I could love her again. I hope things work out well for you, Mark. Anyway, I came here because the boss wants to see you. Apparently he thinks there's something up. What do you mean? Just be careful, Mark. Marrying Stephanie or not, you can't literally afford to hurt her. He got to his office. Mr. Thompson, you asked to see me? Finally, we get the father's name. Yes, I did, Mark. Take your seat, relax. This isn't about work. That's what Mark feared. The only other thing he could ever talk to him besides money and power was his daughter. So what is this about, sir? Please, Mark, don't call me sir. You are like a son to me. Call me Phil. Again, we just find out his name. Okay, so what is this about? Well, you know you're a bright fellow and you're smart enough to know what I care about the most. Sadly, you don't always play your cards right, but I want to believe that this isn't one of those times. What do you mean, sir? Phil? I mean, there's a lot of talk I hear about this new lady interest of yours. What's her name again? He took a sip of water. Ah, yes, Emily. Sir, Emily and I are just friends. There's nothing to make of it. That's not what I hear. What I hear is that this little of yours is buttering herself really well to you. She's not a... He let the anger in him show. She's a good person and a good friend. I hope for her sake that's all she is. I will never do anything to hurt your daughter. You have once. What's stopping you now? Now, I do care. He hesitated. But you obviously know I do not have feelings for your daughter. Watch your tongue. Why? Because you know I don't love her? Don't speak to me in that tone. Well, don't push me to. Do not hurt her. It's a warning. You better stay away from that Emily girl. Well, I have no choice. Honestly, I love Emily, but she won't let me close to her, so I'm stuck with your daughter. What kind of conversation is this? You're a spineless fool. I was for falling for your daughter in the first place and not being brave enough to stand up to you before. You will regret this. No, I will not. But I don't plan on leaving Stephanie because of you. I only plan on leaving her because we both know we have no feelings for each other. Be careful, what you say might cost you your job. It doesn't have to. I quit. He had a new drive as he left the office. He didn't care if he had no job again. He was smart and fast. That wouldn't be hard for him. Now, more than ever, he wanted to be with Emily. He just hoped she still loved him. He slept with only one thing in his mind that night. Emily. Chapter 12. Excuse me, Mark. I would like to enter my own home. Emily just came back from grocery shopping. Mark was standing by her door. He'd been waiting for about 2 hours for Emily to show up. Not until you hear what I have to say first. What could you possibly say to me now that you haven't said before? Okay, you see, I'm really sorry. I want to make it up to you. Then leave, honestly. Well, that's not what I had in mind. He looked at her. I know you never want to see me again, but just listen. What I did was a terrible thing. I did not deserve it. I should have been honest with you right when I met you in the hospital. I just thought you didn't need the extra stress, so I let it slide. But I kept it to myself for so long. Still doesn't change the fact that you did. I know. Look, I'm not mad at you anymore. I just think I need some space. From what? You. It's hard for me, Mark. You wouldn't understand. You're a great guy and all, but you have made a mistake. I know everybody does from time to time, but sometimes when people make mistakes, it's really hard to forgive it. But I'm really sorry. I can promise you that I would never make this kind of mistake again. Don't. I don't think I can trust you again, and I'm not going to believe in your promises. I only end up getting hurt. So what am I supposed to do? Act like it doesn't matter? Walk away? That's not what I'm asking. I just don't think you should say anything you would regret later. But I care about you. I care about you too. That's why I think it's best if we just stayed friends. Then I wouldn't have to expect so much from you. Is that what you want? Isn't that what we need? You're right. We should just remain friends. I don't want to hurt you more than I already have. He let her go to her door. She opened it, then she looked at Mark. You better go inside now, he said. She nodded and walked into her house. He walked down the street. This was not what he wanted. Damn it, he wanted her, not a friendship. Why did she not understand that he loved her? How was he going to convince her that he was going to protect her? Protect her from what? He didn't sleep well that night. He didn't understand where he went wrong. Emily sat up on her bed. She didn't think it would be hard to let a man she barely knew go. She loved him and that was all there was to it. But she was not willing to get hurt. She was not the kind of to let some guy ruin her life. Yet, she didn't care anymore. Mark was willing to be there for her. She thought she should call him, but she had to be sure that that was safe for her. She lay down on her bed thinking, hoping that she was going to make the right decision. She was not going to get hurt, she thought. Not this time. He wasn't like any other guy. Hey! It was about 4 in the afternoon when Mark got a call. Hello? Hey Mark, it's Emily. Oh, I was meaning to call you. Oh, okay, so how are you? I'm stable. Listen, I was wondering if you would like to have lunch today. I already did. Oh, but I'm free for dinner. Great, he smiled. So I'll pick you up at 8? Sure, she hung up. She had to get ready. Maybe it was just a friendly outing, but she just had to be next to him. She wondered what he was thinking now. Mark lay on his bed thinking of Emily. He was going to make sure this night ended the way he wanted it to. He was not going to let her go now. He couldn't lose her like that. Emily was ready by 7:40. She wore a black satin dress with sequins. It was short but elegant. She wore black heeled sandals to go with it. Mark arrived just moments after she was ready. He wore a suit but nothing fancy. Even with a suit, he still looked casual and sophisticated all at once. You look amazing, he complimented. Thank you. You don't look so bad yourself. They got in the car. It seemed awkward for them. They had nothing to talk about. Mark feared that if he said anything, it might set her off and they might start arguing again. Emily wanted to say something, but she couldn't figure out what the right thing to say in this awkwardness was, so she just sat back and tried to enjoy the ride. They finally got to the restaurant. It was one of those Chinese restaurants, and she had heard this one was good. He had good taste, one of those little things you would like in a guy, she thought. He led her out of the car and she held onto him as they walked in. I like this place, Emily said. I thought you would. She blushed. Darn, she thought she'd be able to control that. She felt so stupid. Are you okay? Mark asked, putting his palm on hers. He felt her tense, so he let go. Yes, I am. I was just wondering when we were going to order. Oh, he called the waiter, and they made their orders. So what have you been doing since since, she asked. Actually, nothing. What about work? The thing is, I don't have a job anymore. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't be, I quit. He called the waiter and ordered a bottle of champagne and she watched him. She couldn't figure him out. Most guys without jobs will be out looking for, a job. But he was so bent on taking her out that he neglected to do that. What is it? He asked. I'm wondering why you quit. I can't explain it, not yet. She looked away. He was keeping more secrets, which only meant she had more to worry about. After dinner, they got back in the car. Then he drove off. About 20 minutes later, he stopped. They stopped on the street about 5 blocks from her house. Why are we stopping? She looked confused. Because I want us to talk. We did in the restaurant. I mean about us. He got out of the car and she followed him out. There's nothing to talk about. We said we'd be just friends and that's that. He laughed. What's so funny? She asked. He put his arms gently in her waist and he loomed over her and with a gentle nod he kissed her. She looked in his eyes and put her palm on his chest to give space between them. What happened to just being friends? She whispered. I don't want to be just friends. What I want is you. With that, he kissed her again, and she put her arms around his neck, and now there was no space between them. She leaned on the car, and he loomed over her with a hand on her waist, and the other pressed on the car. Now he kissed her harder, and she kissed back with equal desire. Then, with every bit of strength he had, he pulled back. Oh my God. She looked at him with hunger for him. She was in love with this man, and nothing could change that. A group of teenage skaters that saw what happened started cheering. Emily blushed again. I think I'd better go, she said. He dropped her off, then kissed her one more time. Good night, he said. Good night. Chapter 13. Mark and Emily were eating popcorn and watching a movie in Mark's apartment. It became a usual thing for them to go to each other's places and have a casual date. They mostly stayed at Mark's because it was bigger and Lily didn't like being around when Mark was there. So is this your idea of dinner and a movie? She teased. One of my many qualities. I cook too, you know. Really? He took her to the kitchen. Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm going to cook for you. You can't be serious, but I am. What would you like to eat? Please say pasta. That's the only thing I can never make a mistake in. She laughed. Then pasta it is. She helped him out in the cooking, and when she'd done her part, she set the table. He was making his sauce, which he didn't want her to see. He wanted to surprise her. She decided to take a self-tour around the house. It was huge and it had a hot tub built in. She went around the bedrooms. There were about 4 of them. Then she reached another room, but it was locked, so she decided to go back downstairs. When dinner was ready, they sat together and talked. She thought the sauce was amazing and he felt proud to see that she enjoyed it. When they were done, they washed up and went back to the sitting room. So, I was going around your house and I saw a locked door, so I was just wondering what was in there, she said. Oh, that room, it's nothing. It's just an extra bedroom I keep locked up because I have a lot of boxes there. Oh, she just kept quiet for a while. He was glad she did. He wasn't going to answer any more questions. He needed to find a way to break it off with Stephanie without Emily knowing. And in the meantime, he had to keep her away from Stephanie's room. What's the matter? She asked. You look tense all of a sudden. Nothing. I just was thinking about my job. I'm sorry. Do you think you could get another one soon? I think I could. But as for now, I'm devoting my time to you. He kissed her. You know, you're taking a huge risk on this unemployment phase. It's not as big a risk as losing you. She turned away. She loved this man and she was so scared. What he said gave her a lot to think about. What if she actually lost him? Emily, what? She looked in his eyes and she was so confused. He held her hands. I love you. She wasn't confused anymore. What he said now was all she needed to think about. I love you too. Like that, she lay in his arms and he just held her tight, like he wasn't going to let anyone take her from him. Chapter 14. You seem happy, Sam said as he handed Mark a drink. They were in Sam's apartment having a traditional guy talk. Traditional guy talk. You're right, I am. You don't even have a job anymore. Not yet, Mark said as he downed half his drink. You must really love Emily. Yes, I do. What are you going to do when Stephanie gets back? I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure out a way to break this wedding off without hurting her. That's not going to be easy. You already hurt her once. I know. Mark was sad. He didn't know what to do, and Sam had no idea what he should say to him. Listen, I think of what I'll do later, but for now, let's just have fun, Mark said, trying to change the subject. He did not want to think about Stephanie. It would have only made his day go bad. Okay, sure, so... Honestly, I have nothing to say. We have gone boring, haven't we? Yes, we have. So, Sam, your life seems awfully quiet lately. Anyone in your life? Come on, Mark. You know me. I live for work. I can't be having anything like that. No one's going to tie me down. Mark took a gulp of his beer. You're hopeless, Sam. Really, you should learn to do more than just work. When was the last time you went out and just had fun? I don't know, man, but it's not important. Okay, if you say so. They both just sat there watching TV. So aren't you meant to meet up with Emily or something? Yes, you're right. She will call any minute. So I'll see you around, Sam asked. What are you, trying to get rid of me? Yes, they laughed. Okay, see you around, pal. When Mark left the apartment, his phone rang. Emily, he thought. He picked up the call. It was Stephanie. Hello, Mark, she said, with an obvious wicked tone in her voice. What do you want? Is there any way to talk to your fiancé? He wanted to just blurt it out now. She was no longer going to be his fiancée, but he wasn't going to be rude about it, so he swallowed back the urge to tell her. Listen, I don't know what game you're playing at, he said. Weren't you meant to come back last Tuesday or something? Well, yes, but I've been really busy. Well, come back. I thought you would be happy to get rid of me. She had no idea how happy he would be to get rid of her. I don't understand you, Stephanie. Before you left, you were different, but now... You just sound like the same woman who I tried to get away from. Oh, stop it. You're hurting my feelings, she said with so much sarcasm. The woman who left is gone. I'm not going to be vulnerable because of you. Stephanie, stop this. What? Pointing out the fact that you are so capable of hurting anyone that comes your way? Just stop it, okay? Fine. I just called because Daddy said I should check up on you. What did he tell you? Nothing besides that. Mark hesitated. Stephanie, I think we're going to have to talk. Sure, Mark. Goodbye. He wished that was goodbye, but it was not going to be that easy. His phone rang again. This time it was Emily. Hey you, she said. Hey yourself. I'm sorry I couldn't call sooner. I was really busy. My mom. Oh, that's not a problem. Are you okay, Mark? Yeah, I am. Are you sure? You sound a little down. Are you sick? She blurted out with so much concern. No, Emily, I'm just tired. Okay, but get some rest just in case. I don't want you falling sick or anything. Don't worry, I will. Just don't stress yourself, okay? Okay. Well, I guess I'll talk to you later when you've had your rest. That would be great. She hung up. Mark was tired. He knew he had to get some rest. Maybe that would help him clear his head so he could figure out what he was doing with his life. And besides, he needed to gather all the strength he had left to go job hunting. Sooner or later, he was going to exhaust his salary, and Emily would keep nagging at him about a job. At least that would be all she'd nag him about. He wondered what would happen if she found out about Stephanie. Chapter 15. Today wasn't any better than the last for Mark. He still felt tired and he had to cancel his date with Emily. He was busy scanning through the papers for any news on business to see if he would get a job in any of the corporations. Oh my god, so vague. Business corporations. He decided to go out for a walk and went to the park where he and Emily went for what turned out to be a date. Mark was walking through the place when he realized that he wanted to be here with Emily, so he made up his mind to call her. When he did, he went to meet Sam to help with the whole job searching. His day was really busy and he still had to make it back home on time to get ready for his date. He was lucky it was just a casual date. He wasn't ready for the complications of what to wear and how impressive he would look. It's so beautiful, Emily exclaimed. They were in the park together after a long and stressful day for them both. She was just happy she could end the day with Mark. You're beautiful, Mark complimented. They were alone and free from the world. Everything was peaceful. Mark, yes, I love you. He loved her too, and she knew it, or she hoped. Emily, I don't want to hurt you. She turned her gaze from him to the night. Then don't. He looked at her. He wasn't going to hurt her, at least he did not want to. She seemed so vulnerable. Oh my gosh, you get vulnerable. And he had to be really careful with her. She turned back to him and all his thoughts just disappeared. Then he kissed her. I love you, Emily. She just leaned on him and he held her close. When the night was over, he took her home and they said their goodbyes. She was up all night, worried that she'd fallen too fast for him. She didn't want to let him go, but she feared that wouldn't be her choice to make. Mark called Sam. He had made up his mind. He loved Emily and nothing could change that fact. Mark, it's the middle of the night. Why are you calling? Sam questioned. I'm sorry, I just wanted to tell you something. What could you possibly tell me now? I want to marry her. Sam sat up from his bed. Are you sure about this? Yes. And I know there's still a problem with Stephanie, but I'm going to let her down easy first. I know she doesn't love me, so it's going to be less of a problem. I want you to think this through, and I have. Stephanie is coming back next week, probably Friday, so when we split, I'm going to propose to Emily. I'm happy for you, Mark. Me too. They hung up. Mark felt bad that he was going to do this to Stephanie, but it didn't make any sense to him to get into a marriage where they both clearly did not like each other. He slept thinking of what kind of ring he was going to get Emily. Chapter 16. It was on a Tuesday. Mark had come back from job hunting. It was very stressful. It seemed difficult these days to find a job, and one that was up to his standards and skill. He was just glad Emily was coming over to spend her day with him, but he was so tired, so he figured she'd let herself in. Mark got into his house. He had a very strange feeling about the way things looked. That was when he heard the door upstairs open. He thought Emily probably came over early, so he went upstairs to check. He saw her, just sitting by the mirror, applying makeup as usual. Stephanie. Why, hello, Mark. Aren't you going to welcome me back? She said, smiling. What are you doing here? He questioned. Well, I live here, don't I? She stood up and walked over to him. Oh, stop that. Don't look at me like I did a bad thing coming home. You weren't meant to be back until Friday. I know, but Daddy called. Mark shot her a glance, wondering if her dad told her anything. She answered in his unasked question. You seem to have been really busy, Mark. Well, considering you don't have a job and all, she smiled. What else did he tell you? Not much, actually. Just the fact that you have a new lady love, she yelled. Stephanie, You what? You were going to tell me, or let me see you were just going out with her to pass the time before I came home? He went quiet. Or do you actually love her? He remained silent. Oh my god, you actually love her, she said with surprise. I'm sorry, I didn't want you to find out like this. I just thought it was obvious we weren't going to work out. He paused. For God's sake, we don't even like each other, let alone love. I thought you'd have the decency to break up with me before you went after someone else. I already told you I was sorry. Then the doorbell rang. Mark looked at Stephanie and then she realized who the person at the door must be. Before he knew what happened, she was already out the door and downstairs going to receive the unexpected visitor. Mark hurried downstairs. Stephanie, don't, he yelled. She didn't listen. She opened the door. Emily walked into the house wondering who the woman in the room was. Stephanie broke the brief silence. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Stephanie. What's yours? Emily, and you are? Emily, don't. Let's go. Mark cut in. It's okay, Mark, Stephanie said. The lady wants to know who I am. She turned and smiled at Emily. I am Mark's fiancée. Emily was in a state of shock. Sorry, what? Mark's fiancée, Stephanie said slowly, implying Emily didn't understand. Emily looked at him, hoping to be reassured, to be told this was just a bad joke, and that this woman was his friend or his sister or anything, but he didn't say anything. Mark, she urged for an answer. Is this true? I'm sorry, that's all he said. You're sorry? The guy I love and thought I'd spend my whole life with is here with his fiancée, and all you can say is, I'm sorry? You don't understand. I swear this isn't what it looks like. Looks to me like I just got fooled into loving an almost married man. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm not marrying her. So she's not your fiancée? She is, but we're going to split up. But not yet. You just had to be sure you liked me enough not caring how I'd feel about the situation. I don't know what to say. Shit, you weren't supposed to find out. I was going to break up with her so we could be together. Just stop it, okay? Don't. Don't you dare say those words. She was crying by now. You did it, Mark. He finally hurt me. She turned to Stephanie, who was just standing in silence. I'm sorry about this. I didn't know he was marrying you. I'm really sorry, she sobbed. She walked out the door. He followed her. Emily, wait. Just leave me alone, Mark. Just leave. She kept walking, not sure where she was going, but right now she had to be anywhere but here. Mark went back into the house. He was stunned. He couldn't believe what just happened. He couldn't even speak. Now, Mark, don't be so sad. You still have me, she teased. He just kept staring into thin air. I always thought when you did this I'd be heartbroken or something, she said. But you're right. We are not in love. We don't even like ourselves. I don't blame you for trying to leave me, but next time you want to dump someone, you should think your strategies through first. I mean, seriously, being engaged with one woman and going out with another doesn't even seem like the right way to go. Why did you do it, Stephanie? He asked, still in shock. If you don't love me, then why did you bother? I just love being in control. You should have known that about me by now. But I partly did it out of jealousy. You were mine first, and no one could take you away that easy, she shrugged. I didn't think what I was doing was so wrong. God, I was so stupid. None of us deserves this, and Emily ended up being the victim because of my stupid mistake. He looked at Stephanie. You must hate me now, he said. No, I don't. You just weren't smart enough about the way you did things. And you're right, we shouldn't be together. He was silent again. She walked over to him and took his hands, and she dropped the engagement ring. He stared at it. Why are you doing this? He asked. You were right. We were the worst match ever. So what are you going to do now? He asked with genuine concern. I'm going home, and I'm going to retrace my steps and start afresh. He got up from his seat and went towards her. I'm sorry things turned out like this, he said. Me too. She had packed her things already. He didn't notice when he came back she had a cab waiting for her outside. Goodbye, Mark, and good luck. You'd need it. Goodbye, Stephanie. She took her last bag and walked out the door. That was it. She was never coming back. She was going to live her life now, and so was he thought as her cab drove off. Chapter 17. Mark went over to Emily's. He was standing outside her door, waiting for someone to answer the door. What are you doing here? Lily asked. She was in no mood to stand the sight of Mark after what he put her daughter through. Please, I came to see Emily. She doesn't want to see you. Please, go, Mark. My daughter is not in the right state of mind to see you. Haven't you done enough damage already? Emily was standing by the stairs. She was watching Mark and her mom talk. She didn't want him around, but her mother was being annoying. It's okay, Mom. He can come in, she interrupted. Are you sure? She nodded. Her mother eyed Mark and went upstairs to her room. Hello, Emily. She let him inside. He didn't sit, not in this situation. I hate what happened the other day. I didn't mean for it to. Mark, nobody ever asked for these things, but they happen anyway. I broke up with Stephanie. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't you get it? I broke up with her because I want to be with you. It's a little too late for that, Mark. You already hurt me, and nothing can change that. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did hurt me all the same. You hurt me so much. Her eyes are filled with tears. He tried to touch her, to hold her, but she was being so resistant. What did you want me to do? Tell you that I'm getting married even though I wasn't going to go through with it anyway? Yes, Mark, that is exactly what I wanted you to do. I didn't want lies, and I certainly didn't want to look stupid in the end, but you made that happen, and I can't forgive you. I messed up. I accept that. But you've got to believe that I tried. I thought it all through, but I didn't want to bother you with more secrets. I did believe you, Mark. I trusted you, but now it's too late. I'm leaving, Mark, and that's that. Where are you going? I'm going to my family house. There I could at least be at peace. Don't do this to me, Emily. No, don't blame this on me. This was all you. Your mistake. Oh God, Emily, please. It's not like you don't love me anymore. Just leave, please. Look me in the eyes and tell me you don't love me, and then I'll leave. She looked at him and couldn't believe she said what she did. I don't love you, Mark. Not after what you put me through. And nothing you would say can change that. I love you. She looked him in the eyes. So what? She whispered. Just leave. Mark accepted her request. He walked out the door. He felt his eyes water up. He couldn't believe it. He was crying. He lost her. Emily sat down and began to weep. She was broken-hearted and had been hurt by this man she loved so much. She felt like she had nothing to live for. Her mother took her in her arms and did her best to calm her down. But even now, a mother's love was no match for the love her daughter had for this man. Emily spent the night thinking of what she was doing with her life. She was going to go back home and place herself deep in the family business. She couldn't stand the familiarity of this place anymore. She was leaving the next day and she was going to put everything behind her. Chapter 18. Mark was sitting in his office. He was not busy at the moment, so his sister Alex, brother Kevin, and his best friend Sam were all with him. It had been 3 months since Emily left, and he was still thinking about her every time. Oh, cheer up, Mark, Sam said. You should be happy by now. You're a well-known businessman, might I add, a very rich one too, he joked. I know, I should be grateful after Stephanie convinced her dad to give me back my job. I still can't believe she convinced her dad to give you your job back, let alone even try to help you, Alex said. What can I say? Us not being together made us closer than we expected, he replied. They were all quiet for a while, and Kevin was the one to break the silence. So, Mark, why aren't you happy? Kevin asked. I don't know, bro. I just can't stop thinking about Emily, and the fact that she's gone even after 3 months is still surprising. Kevin put a comforting hand on Mark. His brother needed him, although he could not understand what he was going through. Mark got up. Listen, guys, thanks for coming over to see me at work and all, but I just need to take a walk and I'll be okay. Are you sure? Alex asked. Yeah, besides, I need to pick up a few things at the grocery shop before I go home, so I could just go now. Okay, but be careful, she added. Mark left his office and just drove. He was beginning to feel like he lost cause. He was never going to meet someone like Emily again, and quite frankly, he didn't want to. What he needed now was to go into hibernation and not come out until he had completely lost his senses. He laughed at the thoughts. Without Emily, it didn't seem like he had much sense left. He drove down to the grocery store and he went inside. He was going around looking for what he needed to stock the house with. Then he saw her. She was just down the aisle where he was. She was beautiful, even more beautiful than the last time they were together. He never thought that was possible, but there she was. He walked down the aisle fast. He wasn't going to lose her sight of her now. She was looking at different types of fruits, trying to decide what to get when she noticed someone coming towards her. She turned. She couldn't believe it. He was here now and she felt flutters in her tummy. He walked up to her and she felt like they were the only people in the whole world. Hello, Emily. He was beaming at her. Hello, Mark. So how have you been? Okay, you? I'm coping. I got my job back. That's good to hear. He hesitated. He wondered if it was the right time to tell her how he felt. Emily, I'm sorry about what happened to us and I miss you. Mark, please forgive me. I still love you. I forgave you a long time ago, but you don't love me. It's not that, it's... A man walked up and came over to where Emily was. He pecked her on the cheek. Mark, this is Stephen. She hesitated. My fiancé. Fiancé. He felt dizzy. She was engaged already. Mark, she called. Oh, hey, Stephen, right? They shook hands. Nice to meet you, responded. Well, Emily, I'm waiting in the car. I just wanted to check up and see how you were doing. He left. You're engaged? Yes. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry it had to be this way. So am I. Mark, wait. I lost you already, Emily. I'm too late. We could always be friends, you know. I can't handle it. I tell you I love you every day, but you won't be able to tell me the same, and I doubt you'd want to tell me that. You don't understand what I went through, Mark. I was hurt. I do understand. I just felt the same way. For God's sake, you were getting married and you could have woken up one morning and said you didn't like me anymore. Then you'd leave me hurt so you would get married. He didn't want to stay and fight. He wanted her to love him as much as he did her, but it was already too late. You're wrong, you know. I would never leave you for anything in this world. That was why I quit my job. I could never let you go, Emily. I still love you. He met her gaze. Goodbye, Emily. She just stood there feeling like she had just lost everything. But that was absurd. She was getting married to Stephen. He was the one she loved. Mark went back home and went straight to his room. His siblings watched him climb the stairs. They could tell that something happened when he went out. They just couldn't get what it was. He was on his bed, lost in thoughts. This was it. He didn't have any thread of hope to hang on to. Emily was getting married. He just wished he could have been her groom. It was clear to him now that it was not meant to be, and to think that this all happened because of his stupid car. And to think that this all happened because of a stupid car accident. An accident he caused was okay. Chapter 19. He was fed up with life. Mark was hopeless now. He felt like his whole life was just taken from him. His worst fears were confirmed by his sister. Emily was getting married the next day and it would be all over. Mark Smith was not someone who would give up that easily, but there he was. He lost. I don't know how you feel, Sam said, but I can tell you're really sad. But heartbroken or not, you've got to get over her and you need to move on. It's not that easy. They were silent. I love you and all, Mark, Alex said, but honestly, I can't stand seeing you like this. She's gone. It will be best for you if you just forget about her. She's getting married tomorrow. She moved on with her life. She put a hand on his shoulder. I think you should do the same. He paced the room wondering what his mistake was. If he told her he was engaged from the start, then she would never have loved him. And since he didn't tell her from the start, she stopped loving him. He was making himself hurt. Everyone felt sorry for him, but they honestly thought it was unnecessary. He was rich, powerful, and he was someone that could get any woman he wanted. So why her? Why couldn't he just let her go? I need to leave town, he announced. What? Why? They asked in confusion. I thought it was obvious. I can't walk around this place and bump into her everywhere I go and not be upset when I see her. She's going to have a ring on her finger and will be with Stephen. He frowned at the thoughts. I won't be able to bear it. I just can't lose her. Don't let yourself feel this pain, Mark. You're only going to keep hurting, Alex said. I know, but it's hard to stop. They all knew he was beyond convincing now. They had to let him make the decision himself. How he was going to live was entirely up to him. There was so much pain involved, so much hurt. He was leaving the sitting room. He had to go to the comfort of his own bedroom to think about what he was going to do next. Do you really think she's worth what you're putting yourself through? Alex asked. Yes, she's worth a whole lot more. Chapter 20, the final chapter. The day had finally come. She was getting married. Her mother was looking at her. She was going to make a beautiful bride. Everyone was so busy. They were busy making arrangements, setting tables, organizing the flower arrangements. Her bridesmaids were running up and down trying to get into clothes and makeup. Everywhere was rowdy. Emily looked like the stress of the day was all placed on her. She was tired and she still had to get into her wedding dress. When everything was set and the guests were about arriving, Lily was alone with her daughter, getting her into her dress. You look beautiful, baby, Lily complimented. Thank you, she sighed. What's wrong? Her mother asked with concern. Emily went over to the bed and sat down. Her mother followed suit. I'm scared. Don't be. We all go through the same things. I turned out okay, didn't I? And I had you to show for it. I wish Dad was here. He will always be in our hearts. He would have wanted this for you, to feel happy. But I don't feel happy, Mom. Why not? You're getting married. That's every girl's dream to get married. So they are Prince, but I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm making a mistake. Lily understood what was happening. She drew her closer. A girl only says those things when she's not in love with the man she's about to marry, her mother said wisely. I'm so confused. I know you are, she looked Emily in the eyes. You're in love with someone else. How did you? I'm your mother. I'll always know these things. But I'm getting married. What should I do? She begged for an answer. She looked so little, so unsure about the world. You love Mark, don't you? Yes, go, talk to Steven. It's going to be a whole lot worse if you get married to him and hurt him afterwards. If he really cares, he'll understand. Everyone has their perfect match. You're just not his. You make it sound so easy. I know. It's the only way I know how. You love Mark. That's all that matters. I thought you hated him, Emily said. I don't hate him. I just can't stand seeing you get hurt. She kept her close. But it seems he's the only one who can keep you safe and happy. Safe from what? Oh my gosh. Mom? Yes, dear. Thank you. Emily got up. She was going to do something she was afraid of. She couldn't bear the fact that she was going to break Stephen's heart. Stephen was in his room trying on his ties. He looked tense and she felt bad all of a sudden when she saw him. Hey, she said. Hey, you know I'm not meant to see you until we walk down the aisle. He stopped. He could tell that something was wrong. What's the matter? I'm sorry. Tears are forming in her eyes. Why? I can't do it. She looked down. Do what? I can't marry you. He went quiet. Then she looked at him. I'm sorry, she repeated. He wasn't hurt, just stunned. He really liked her and he thought he had found the right woman, but here she was about to leave him. Don't be sorry. You're probably just stressed after the planning. Just go and rest a little while and think about what you said through. I already did. I just can't. Why are you doing this? I don't know, Stephen. I really like you, but that's just not enough. I need to know that I could depend on you, that I could love you and never question it. I really like you, Emily. Do you love me? He hesitated. That was it. She knew he didn't really love her. I don't know, Emily. I think I do. If you can't make up your mind, then you probably don't. He sat on the chair. Wow, he had a lot of thinking to do. He didn't realize it, but she just told him the truth. He didn't really love her. I don't know what to say. I never really thought about it like that. He looked at her with a worried stare. Why did you wait till today to tell me? Because I didn't know I didn't love you and... She paused. She was scared to tell him about Mark. And you're in love with someone else, he completed. How did you know? I had a hunch you were hiding something after I saw you and Mark together in the grocery store. That's why I came to check on you. Oh, she felt stupid. Was it really that easy to see the signs, she wondered. Don't worry about it. We don't want to do something with regret. Thank you, Stephen. She now realized something. It was time for her wedding. What are we going to tell the guests, she asked. We'll just tell them to eat and have fun, that the bride and groom have left the building. She laughed at the thoughts. There are going to be a lot of confused people out there. I know. She smiled at him. Thank you, Stephen, for everything. He smiled back. Go. She hugged him and thanked him again for being so understanding. She left. Mark was in a bar that evening. He was thinking that by now Stephanie would be with her new husband and he would be, well, alone. He was drinking his beer. He planned on downing his sorrows in alcohol and maybe getting into his car and driving off a cliff. Everyone seemed to be having a good time on that day of all days. Why couldn't people just forget about joy and happiness? It seemed unfair to him that he was the only person not sharing a drink with anybody. He thought he'd leave town the next day. That would give him time to clear his head and start afresh. Maybe everyone was right. He needed to get back on his feet. Someone slipped into the seat beside him. He was too depressed to look. He just didn't care. It's weird that everyone is happy, the guy said to him. Mark was trying to ignore him. He didn't need a friend now. What he needed was Emily. Not me. Today just doesn't seem the right time to be happy to me, the guy pressed on. I know what you mean, Mark said. My day was terrible. You'd expect a guy like me to be home with his wife. Yeah, Mark said, not interested in what he was saying. I can't be. I was supposed to get married today. She bailed. Mark felt like he was just told something that felt so familiar to him. He turned. It was Stephen. You're a lucky man, Mark, he said. I don't understand. Emily and I couldn't get married. Apparently she still loves you. Stephen got up from his chair and dropped some money on the counter. He was just both blind to see it. He patted him on the back and left. Mark couldn't believe what he just heard. She loved him and she was free and she could be his. He had to find her now. He wasn't going to let her go again. He drove over to her house and pressed the bell. No one answered. He knocked. Someone came to the door. It was Lily. Hello, Lily. Where is she? I don't know. She left. I know you don't like me, but I really need to find her. I already told you I don't know. She said she had to go make a wish where the stars smile or something like that. Thank you, Lily. He was almost at his car. Mark, don't hurt my daughter. She loves you. He nodded, then got into his car. Of course she would be in the park. That was the only place she went when she needed peace. He drove down. Crap, he thought. Why on earth would traffic be bad at a time like this? He got down from the car. He couldn't wait for it to clear. He ran. He ran all the way to the park. Christ, he thought. He hadn't been running in a long time, and he felt he had to go back into the fitness game. Emily was standing where they had made theirs. It was a clear view of the night. She was thinking. "What did you wish for?" he asked. She turned around and saw him standing right in front of her. "I didn't make a wish. The stars are not out tonight." "No, but I'm here. So you don't need the stars. I don't want them sharing this night with you." Full circle moment. "They wouldn't be smiling at me tonight." "No, but I will." "I'm scared, Mark." "Don't be. I'm here. I will always be here for you. And don't tell me I shouldn't. You can't stop me now." "How do I know you won't hurt me?" she asked with worried eyes. "Because I'm never going to be careless from now on. I made a mistake. I've made so many mistakes in my life, but it was no mistake hitting you that day." I know it's a shitty thing to say, yep, but I'm not sorry about that. I would probably never have met you and would probably never have known what it means to love. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. I'm going to do all I can to pay for my mistakes. I don't know how, but you're worth it. Emily, I may not be able to promise never making a mistake. I mean, who can, right? But I can promise that I will always be true to you, to never make you wait up worrying about me. I can promise to protect you, to never lie to you, to never hesitate to be by your side. I'll hold you when you're sad and comfort you when you cry, to never be afraid to do anything for the one I love. I promise you that I will always be there for you. I'll go to the ends of the earth just to make you smile. He got down on one knee. She couldn't believe what he was doing. He thought, now or never. "Emily Watson, would you be my wife?" "I don't know what to say." "Marry me." Yes, 1,000 times yes. She was crying now. Tears of joy, she thought. "I love you, Emily. I always have." "I love you, Mark Smith. I never stopped loving you." He took her in his arms and he kissed her. It was the most passionate kiss she'd ever had. She kissed him with equal passion. He put his hands around her waist and pulled her closer. He kissed her again, demanding every bit of her. She was his now, and he was never going to let her go. They finally pulled apart, breathless. With so much love in their eyes, they had each other now. She leaned on him. "What were you going to wish for?" he asked. "Everything you gave me this night." He smiled. "How did I ever get so lucky?" he asked. "You knocked me down with your car." "Some might say it's destiny." "They are right, but I had to be on the other side of the wheel for it to happen," she commented. "Life has a funny way of making things happen. Love has a way of bringing two people together." He looked at her. She was someone who never had a worry in life, but during this whole episode, she had been faced with so much pain, and he felt so sorry he had to wait this long to be there for her. "I love you, Emily. I couldn't live if I lost you. You could never lose me." He kissed her again. This was it. The end. Oh my gosh, I am so out of breath. My mouth is hurting. I think I've tried to read this whole story. I actually enjoyed the story. I enjoyed reading the story. I enjoyed the story itself. Sure, there was a lot of repetition and weird timelines, really weird timelines. But overall, I liked it. I don't care for some of the lessons that were there, but what did 14-year-old me know about life really? But some of the lessons did impress me, and I don't know if those were like from my head or if I copied the ideas from other places, but it was still, I guess, my learning process as a child. So if an adult brought the story to me like this, I will have a lot of critique, but as a 14-year-old me, I have nothing but praise for myself. It was really good. I enjoyed the story a lot, and I hope you enjoyed hearing the story too. I put in so much effort for this. This took you so long to film. So please support me. So if you've liked this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and also share this video to as many people as you can. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.